So I'm curious, with all the people you coach and work with, what are the 3 keys that they all have in order to build wealth sustainably and exponentially? What would you say those 3 things are?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'd say is most entrepreneurs, unfortunately, because they've never been taught different, end up building companies they grow to hate.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. It's not the economy that takes a business down or an entrepreneur. It's usually the fact that they wake up one day and they look around and they hit what I call the pain line, which is essentially they have opportunity to grow, but the more they grow, the more pain they're going to feel. So, and
what is the thing they have the most pain around? Is it their team? Is it their customers, the clients? Is it the industry they're in?
It's the calendar.
It's their schedule.
Yeah, and it's maybe the way they hired where they don't have the right people, or the thing they're selling is too complicated. And the more they do, the more their calendar explodes. So imagine you get an email where you could double your capacity, double your revenue, and you can't take that business on because that would mean more pain in your life, and you're already trying to get more time for the weekends for your kids or whatever it is. I mean, it's tough.
And you're exhausted.
You're burnt out, and it's not the dream that you were sold. You sold yourself a vision of a future where the bigger this gets, the more time you're going to have and the more freedom. And unfortunately, if you're not taught to do it properly, that's what ends up happening. And that's what happened to me. The 3 things that I would say that people who've created wealth, and when I think wealth, I think of like time and just like the freedom, is first off is they understand the value of their time. So, and when we think about the value of the time, it's not how much you get paid for your hour. It's what do you think you're worth? Because what I learned a long time ago is nobody's going to get paid a penny more than they think they're worth. So if you don't,
wait, what's the difference between how much you get paid per hour versus how much you're worth?
I think there's one that materializes in the minute. How much did somebody just pay me for what I just offered? And there's what do you think you're worth? What's your value?
But some people might say, well, I'm worth $1,000 an hour.
Yeah.
But they're not getting paid that.
Nope.
And you could, is that delusional to think, oh, I'm worth this, but if the market's not willing to pay it, are you worth it?
Dude, it's such a good question. Here's why it's a great question is because there has to be a belief you're worth more than what you're currently getting paid so you make better trades. See, if you think you're worth 1,000, but you're only getting paid 100, then you're going to start thinking about your time differently, where you'll say no to things that don't even look remotely close to a $200, maybe a $300 an hour opportunity. Or you might decide to spend some money. See, most people spend time to save money. I encourage them to spend money to save time.
Yes. This is kind of how I grew up. You know, this is what people do.
Same.
It's like, you know, we're cutting coupons, we're going to discount, we're going waiting in line for an hour to like save money, whatever it might be. It's like you wait or you spend time to try to save money. But why is that the wrong way to look at it?
Because if we're talking about creating wealth, the only ways we can create wealth is by making that hour worth more. And this is what's interesting so the first part is worthiness, but the second part is increasing your value. So if you think you're worth 1,000, but you're only charging 100 or people aren't willing to pay you more than that, then you can say, well, how can I become more valuable? For me, the 3 areas I always look at is the character traits that I have, right? Like you're not valuable if you're not somebody that can deliver on the commitments you've made.
Right. And so then are you worthy if you're not valuable?
Exactly. So I think that you have to start with the belief you're worthy, but then you got to back it up by action.
And by creating value,
Creating that value.
What? Developing skills.
Character, yeah, so it's character traits first off, right? Like just being somebody that shows up, that honors their word, right? Be impeccable with your language. Second would be skills. Like what skill do you currently have that's creating value, and is there a way to upgrade that skill, right? Marketing, sales, etc. And then the third part, I think, is belief systems, right? So
what are the belief systems that keep people bankrupt or broke?
I always look at 2 things. Let's say the goal is becoming rich. There's 2 parts of this. There's this limiting beliefs you have about yourself about being rich. And then there's the negative beliefs you have about the achievement. So both of those are in the mind. So think about like limiting beliefs is like, well, I can't do this. I've never done this before. And I know the person has those beliefs if I hear the language. And you know what I'm talking about. It's language like could, should, it'd be nice.
Right. 1, 2. Yeah.
Yeah. That language has the expectation of failure built into it. So that's the limitation beliefs. And then on the other side of the coin of the outcome is the negative beliefs. So what's negative beliefs that keeps people broke? The rich people are evil. There's no chance you're going to wake up to try to be rich if you believe rich people are evil, or rich people don't pay taxes, or rich people took advantage of somebody, or rich people are unhappy.
Because if you believe rich people are evil, you don't want to become that belief of evil.
If I held a knife to your throat and said, step forward, you'd be like, well, I don't want to step forward because I'll hurt myself. It's like, yeah, so you'll never push for the goal if you think the outcome is negative. So until we work through those beliefs, that's what I call self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest work I do with entrepreneurs is understanding what are the unconscious beliefs they have that are literally self-sabotaging their progress to winning.
What are the beliefs that most people have around money that are holding them back then? Is it that money's bad, or people with money are takers, or what is it?
Yeah, I think it's anything negative. So, I mean, I know I had money beliefs around, I had this crazy belief that everybody had to go bankrupt.
That everyone had to?
If you want to be successful.
Really?
It was this weird belief that I read Donald Trump's book, and I read a bunch of other people's books. And when you look at the history, they all talk about, like, you know, if you're really trying, you're taking risks, and at some point you'll probably go bankrupt. So get used to it. So, like, well, if I have that belief, how hard am I going to push to try to be successful if I've got a young family and I'm trying not to create pain in their life?
Yes.
So that one kept me playing small for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah. The other belief is, you know, what will other people in my family say?
If I have money?
Oh my gosh.
Do you ever feel guilty about the money you have?
I felt so guilty, Lewis. You've known me for a long time. I didn't tell anybody I had money. I was quiet about it. I didn't allow myself to buy anything nice until I was 30. I made my first million at 27, multimillionaire at 28, and it wasn't until I was 36 I allowed myself to buy a McLaren.